Good evening, everybody. I'm sure you wanted to watch cars, but you get me now. Welcome once again to another fabulous edition of Grassroots Motorsports Live, presented by CRC Industries. Folks, my name is JG Pasterjack. It is Wednesday night, November 15th. We are sitting here. It is finally a hoodie weather here in Florida. We are enjoying ourselves down here. We are glad you are joining us tonight for another edition of the live show. Really cool show tonight. Our friend Jason Cammisa, formerly of Automobile Magazine, formerly of Road and Track Magazine, formerly of Motor Trend Live, Motor Trend On Demand, head-to-head show, is going to be on with us. He was also a judge at the 2017 Dollar Challenge. So really excited to have him tonight. All right, I see we got folks joining us already, Ian and John and Richard and Dinesh. Yes, Dinesh, you absolutely made it in time. Here's what we're going to do before we even get started. I am going to go to this very site on Facebook on my phone, and I'm going to hit this little button that says share, and I'm going to share this to my personal timeline. Folks, it is just that simple. I am a public school educated, emotionally stunted man-child with a 4th grade education. I could do it with a couple of clicks. I'd appreciate it if you would do it too. Hit that share button, hit that like button. If you're watching us on YouTube, welcome aboard on YouTube tonight. We're gonna have a great time. Before we get started, a couple of cool announcements. Next week, next Friday is Black Friday. Just like everybody else in the whole world, Grassroots Motorsports has a fantastic Black Friday sale. You can go to grassrootsmotorsports.com, scroll all the way down to the bottom, and subscribe to our newsletter. What's going to happen if you subscribe to our newsletter? You're going to get email newsletters, once, twice a week. There's great info in them. There's stories right from the magazine. But there's also, you're going to be the first ones in line for our Black Friday sale. It is the cheapest time of the year to renew your subscription, to get a new subscription, to do any of that stuff. I'm also going to turn the volume off on my phone. So go grassrootsmotorsports.com, subscribe to our newsletter, check out our great Black Friday deals. Next Friday, we're going to have great deals on not only subscriptions, but cool merch like this. Also, want to give a big shout out to the folks that support this show. First off, our friends at CRC Industries. CRC Industries, not only a supporter of this show, supporter of the 2017 challenge we are about to talk about with Jason. Check them out at crcindustries.com. We'll do the full-length commercial later. And check out autobooks-aerobooks.com. Great, amazing, fantastic bookstore out in the LA area, out in California there. Not only a great bookstore, great online presence. You can order any of tens of thousands of books. Fantastic hub of the automotive culture, automotive scene in Southern California. So if you're out in Southern California, want cool car stuff to do, autobooks-aerobooks.com. All right, got a good crowd joining us here. Let us bring on Jason Cammisa. Jason's gone full gangster on me in the time since we said goodbye. Jason, welcome, my friend. How are you?
Cold. If it's hoodie weather in Florida, you should see what it's doing here in the Bay Area. It's like 48 degrees and raining sideways. And hi.
Hey. Good evening. Yeah. So dude, I'm a lightweight. Actually, I was in Chicago 2 weeks ago. We picked up our new project car. It was I autocrossed on a 35-degree wet, snowy day. It was absolutely brutal. But the only good thing about it was the locals were all complaining and whining too about how cold it was. So I did not feel out of place. So yeah, flip the hood down, enjoy it, have a good time. So look, let's start here. I'm a colleague of yours, but I've also been a fan of yours for a long time. You and I probably grew up experiencing a lot of the same things in automotive journalism culture and being influenced by a lot of the same people. But I know you professionally, and we've talked at events and hung out and stuff, but I don't really know that much about your background and how you got into this whole thing. So before we even get started with this thing, tell us a little bit about, when did you kind of come up and realize, like, oh my God, cars are awesome and this is a way I want to pursue my life?
I think I popped out this way. I think I was always, from the time I was a little kid, my mom would say, oh, by 2 or 3, I could name every car on the road. And then by 10, I was reading every car magazine, of course. And then by 14, I snuck out and bought a Volkswagen Beetle with a friend of mine. Of course, I had no right to do so and no driver's license. So I think it was always there. Out of college, I had a real job for a couple of years, which I don't recommend doing to anyone, and then got an opportunity to work at Automobile, which was, of course, my dream job, to work at a car magazine. And I was there to run the website, which was actually a business position. And yeah, no. As soon as I got there, I'm like, oh, but I could go review this car. And so I did, and it kind of all started there.
So how far along in Automobile's history was that they were doing web stuff and brought you on?
I was the third web editor. This was 2006.
Okay.
So their web editor had gone over to Car and Driver, and then put a good word in for me on his way out the door, which I'm forever thankful for. It really is kind of who you know, because it's such a small industry.
Yeah.
I remember applying to a job at Car and Driver while I was in college, and I still have the rejection letter. And it's the only one of the 4 big magazines that I haven't worked for.
Yeah.
And so one day, when they send me a job offer, I will hang the rejection letter next to the offer letter on the wall in my office.
Who can we say who signed the rejection letter? Who was?
It was Sue Matthews, who's the office manager, who's still there. And all these years later, 20 years later, I met her and I brought her the letter. I'm like, look what you did to me. You destroyed my hopes and dreams. And I'm kidding. We had a great laugh over it.
See, what you should have done is taken your entire Motor Trend TV crew in there, like to catch editor style, and basically springing on them like, Sue Matthews, did you sign this letter? So spent some time at Automobile, spent some time at Road and Track. And then I probably, where everybody who's watching tonight knows you from, is I'm guessing the Motor Trend on demand, Motor Trend TV, and your head-to-head show, right?
Right, probably. I mean, I started that. Automobile and Motor Trend are sister magazines. And while I was at Automobile, I did a couple of head-to-head videos. This is a long time ago, back 2011 and 2012. I sort of agreed back then that TV was not necessarily the way forward, but a way forward for the car magazine world. So I did a couple episodes of that, one of which was huge because I pulled a bunch of personal favors and got a Veyron and an Aventador and 4 carbon fiber cars, and I drag raced them together.
And 97 million views and change later, I think, is what that's up to?
Annoyingly, it's like the worst video we've ever done. We did it in 2 hours. It cost us like $30. It was literally no production value whatsoever.
And you had some mad sideburns for that one too, man.
It was bad. It was really bad. I had my Guido Italian chain on, and everyone made fun of me for this day. But if here's the rule: if you're going to make a video that 100 million people see, make it bad.
Yeah.
Because then it's guaranteed to work.
Well, and look, that's the crazy thing that we're like. You can produce the best content on YouTube, but you're still competing with, a vertical phone video of a guy getting hit in the nuts with a golf ball,
which is certainly more fun to watch.
Yeah. It's the subtext. I think that, but so as you were developing that show, and all of the numbers on that show are really solid, but as you were developing that, were you looking at numbers each week or each cycle and saying, okay, how do we do this different, or were you just kind of going with your gut and producing content that you liked and you enjoyed?
That's a tough question. There's a thin line between giving people what they want and pandering for numbers. And we could have done episodes basically when I was on Head to Head, it was me and Johnny that chose the cars, and Ignition was Johnny chose his shows, I chose mine, and 99% of our decision was what we were interested in. And then if we knew, as a tiebreaker, for example, I could do an episode on like a Volvo wagon or a new McLaren. Chances are people would care more about the McLaren. So if there was a deal breaker, like a tiebreaker there, I'd go with the car that I think would do better. But ultimately, we'd always come around to doing the cars that we wanted, because frankly, we should be representative of our audience. I should know what people want to see. And if we went with just what made traffic, it'd be Camaro versus Mustang every time, because everyone loves that. Well,
and even the exotic stuff. I mean, the exotic stuff brings in eyeballs, but ultimately they're only going to sell, 11 Bugatti Veyrons to various people. So it's not like you're reaching a broad audience that has any hands-on experience with those cars. But speaking of reaching your audience, I'm looking behind you right now, and I'm seeing a Volkswagen Scirocco, and I'm seeing a Lotus Elise, and that's pretty core to me. I mean, that is stuff that I look at that and go, okay, this dude is for real. I mean, this is a no screwing around enthusiast here. But and you're kind of a Volkswagen guy from way back too. I think that's not your only VW. It sounds like.
No, and this one I've had for 20 years,
Oh,
20
wow.
and a half years now. Yeah, this is my baby. It's on engine number 7 because I'm a terrible mechanic. And the Lotus is actually my only modern car that I would drive. All my cars are kind of 80s and 90s, high maintenance German things that hate me. So yeah, I spend a lot of the reason I have the laptop in here is because this is where I was. I'm always in my garage at night. And yeah, I've never been much into the exotic car, supercar thing. And it's a little known secret because we do so many videos on them. But
yeah, well, and it's like my wife's a third grade teacher, and we have no kids. At the end of the day, she gets to give those kids back to their real parents the same way you do with a McLaren. You can give the McLaren back. You don't have to worry about an $800 oil change every 8 weeks.
It's also the fact that the supercars really aren't as much fun as the old stuff is, right? I mean, for example, I have one of my other VWs is a Cabriolet. So Mark I Volkswagen, same car underneath as the Scirocco is, but I built a 2-liter 16-valve for it, so it's got double the original horsepower. And I didn't upgrade suspension or brakes. So really, it's fun because you're going to die any second. I mean, you can really wring the neck of slow cars for a long time and have a lot of fun. In supercars, 3 seconds in, you're breaking every rule in the country. They're all automatics at this point with flappy paddles. It's a very different experience, and I'd rather work for my speed.
Yeah, and just so you know, one of our YouTube viewers, or actually one of our Facebook viewers, just said that they liked you better on Motor Trend than the new guy. So our apologies to the new guy.
He's great, but I like me better.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about the rest of your fleet, because you sort of mentioned in passing the rest of your fleet. Pretty much every single one of the cars that you own is something significant. At least from a guy being a child of the '80s, having my opinions formed in the mid '80s about what constituted a cool car. You pretty much have the dream shopping list for what I was sketching on the back of my notebook and after I finished my history test.
You're cool because it's good. And I can say that because it's my dream list too. So the Scirocco kind of happened. That was when I was like 20, 21. And then my other dreams were an E30 BMW. And I thought, if I'm going to have an E30, I'm going to have an E30 325i wagon.
Oh, yeah.
So many years ago, I sourced one of those and brought it home. That's been 15 years. And then I have a Mercedes 190e 2.316, which was the Cosworth engine race car that's probably the most significant car I own because it's the one that ignited the German horsepower war that's still going on right now. And everyone always thinks, oh, the M3 was, the definitive homologation DTM car from the 1980s. No, kids, sorry. Their E30 M3s are great, but the 325i is better. And really, the original one is the 2.316 Mercedes.
Yeah, and I remember, I have a very specific memory of that car. I think that it came out, 85 was the first year of that, or 86?
85 in Europe, 86 for US.
Yeah. Okay. So we first started hearing about it 85 here. So I'm 15. My buddy Dom and I are just kind of getting into cars, and we're reading Car and Driver. It's got 4 valves per cylinder. And we're like, well, what the hell does that even mean? That was just it was jargon to us, and that fact kind of set us on the path to like, okay, let's learn more about this. This is something that interests me. I want to know more about this. And I remember sort of that car igniting an actual interest in me in knowing more about what all these ridiculous words were that I was reading in magazines.
Yep, and it ignited a lot. I mean, it was a car that made no sense at all. A dog-leg manual transmission, and for the Euro cars, they had no power windows, they had no air conditioning, they had no climate control, they had no cruise control. I mean, they were stripped out 4 Recaro buckets, not even a bench in the back, and they were as much as an S-Class. So here you had a 4-cylinder base, no option, subcompact car that cost as much as an S-Class, but broke 9 international and 3 world speed records. And then just absolutely changed the world in terms of what people expect from a performance sedan. Yeah, no, when I first found out about that car, I was 15. We were in Germany, and one flew by us in the Autobahn, and my dad was
Oh,
flat
wow.
out in his Audi. He had an Audi 90/20 valve Quattro that sounded so good, and we're doing like, I don't know, 130 or something, fast, and I just hear this. This Mercedes flew by. I'm like, what the hell motor swap is in that thing, and what old man put a spoiler on his car? Like, I just didn't know anything about it. And then I went and did my homework. Now I have one.
Yeah. So, and actually, you have a great comparison video between that and the E30 M3. And we'll throw you sent us some great links to some of your videos, including the 97 million view Veyron versus the World video, and
Bad.
no,
But
it does the trick, and it's you guys.
It shows you just how fast that Bugatti is.
That's great. But you also have a great video comparing your Scirocco to a modern Scirocco and that 190. So we'll throw the links up to that. But what of all the stuff that you've driven, and we get to drive all kinds of cool stuff, and you more so than me, because we're in kind of a niche here where we don't really get the high end stuff. But what has stuck with you over the years that maybe you don't have right now, but is aspirational, or just puts a smile on your face when you think back to driving it?
I have to say there are two cars that really stand out. The first one was the Mercedes CLK 63 AMG Black Series, which is a long word, but it was the CLK Coupe with these ridiculous fender flares on it. And from the factory, it sort of looked like a DTM car. And it was one of the first times Mercedes had a skunkworks team that did a project that was unapproved, and they did it basically while everyone was on break. And they made this just absolutely nuts car. And it was one of the best handling cars I'd ever driven ever at the time, and just looked so good, and it was rare, and it sounded good, and that one sticks with me. But also, I have to say the Aston. Last year, I drove Aston Martin V12 Vantage S 7-speed dogleg manual. Another mouthful.
Oh, wow.
But I always say that if I had one sports car to buy, it would be an Aston Martin V8 Vantage. It's kind of the best sports car of our time. And that they put a 7-speed dogleg manual in it with the variable valve timing version of the V12, which is a psychotic V12, great manual, and and they geared it like a Miata. So second gear is 55 miles an hour, 52 miles an hour. Third is 70. Fourth is like 90. So, and imagine that with 565 horsepower.
Just a tire roaster, yeah.
When we tested it, it was faster to 60 starting in second
oh my
than
God.
what's starting in first. And that's what you want. You want something that's really a lot of work to drive. And I love that car. Love that car.
So one of our weird occupational hazards is the fact that we do get to drive a lot of this stuff. We find ourselves kind of falling in love with these 1 week dates we get from the manufacturers. Have you ever found yourself getting a press car for a week, and then you find yourself in a dealership after a couple days talking to them about maybe I need to...
Yeah, I think I have a spreadsheet that people have made fun of over the years of every car I've ever driven, and I think it's like probably 3,500 press cars. And
wow.
And twice I got choked up giving the car back. Like, I really didn't want. One of them was at Black Series, actually, because I knew I'd never even sit in one again.
Yeah.
But I offered to buy one car once, and it was Mazda made a one-off Miata Super 20, they called it, and it was an NC Miata with an NC2 front end on it. And but it was the regular four-cylinder with a Cosworth supercharger on it.
Oh, wow.
And stupid fender flares and just stupid loud exhaust and suspension. And I called poor Jeremy Barnes from Mazda, and I'm like, hey, you're not getting your car back. And he was like, what'd you do to it? And I'm like, nothing. It's in my garage. I kicked one of my own cars out because I'm buying it. And he was like, haha, no, really. And I'm like, no, seriously. You tell me how much to send you. I will send you a check. And this is done. Like, name your price. And he was like, I can't sell you that car. And I'm like, I don't think you understand. Like, you're not getting it back. That was the only one time where I actually, well, I shouldn't say that. I also told Aston Martin if they could get me a V12 Vantage S manual at sticker price, I would sell everything I owned. But I kind of knew they wouldn't really be able to do it. So, but yeah.
Dude, I got to set my sights higher. Because I bought a Ram ProMaster City after we had.
Really?
We got the thing, and they dropped it off like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. By 4 o'clock, I'm texting my wife saying, I think I'm about to buy a new van. And I literally drove the thing from the office to the Chrysler dealership and said, I want one of those. And they said, well, you have one of those. And I said, no, I want mine. And and now it's sitting 70 feet away from me. And I really need to set my sights more towards
just call Mazda. Call Mazda. In fact, I think Dean Case has been commenting on Facebook. So Dean, he made some snarky comment about the two of us being, not nice people. Get Dean to bring that Super 20 out to one of the events, because that's another one. You will open your checkbook and throw it at him.
Is it now? I was in the Mazda garage a few months ago. Is it? I didn't see it out there. Is it still around somewhere?
It's still around. It's still around. It's yellow and black, and hence the Super B or Super 20. They made it look like a Super B. It is the stupidest car you've ever seen in your life. You can't miss it though. So it's probably getting fixed or something. But it's made the rounds. You'll be able to get it. You guys should do something for the magazine in that.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
And then give it to me.
Yeah. All right, we're going to switch gears a little bit here, talk about 2017 Challenge. Before we do that, though, let me remind everybody, if you're having a good time watching tonight, thank you very much for joining us. Thanks for joining us on Facebook. Thanks for joining us on YouTube. Man, it doesn't cost you a thing to hit that like button, or even better, hit that share button, or if you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. And before we switch gears here, let me tell you about the folks that support this show. That is, namely, our friends at CRC Industries. Everybody... Here, let me put the brake clean where you guys can see it. Everybody knows about brake clean. Everybody has a can of brake clean in their garage. But CRC has over 15,000 different SKUs of stuff, including this stuff here, which actually works awesome, Wasp and Hornet Killer Plus. Look, I've said it before. I'm a pacifist. I would rather shoot an animal with a 400 millimeter lens than a 5.56 millimeter projectile. But I will straight up murder a Hornet. I got no love for them, and this stuff is amazing. I actually sprayed a Hornet a couple weeks ago with this stuff, and he looked at me, and he was like, "Bro, is that CRC Wasp and Hornet Killer?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "You know what? I am not even mad right now. It is an honor. Please tell my Wasp wife and my 10,000 Wasp babies that live in your carport that I died honorably and at the hands of a fine product." So look, if you're choosing Automotive Chemicals, if you're out shopping somewhere, you reach for that CRC stuff, you're not only getting a fantastic product, you're getting a product from a company that supports the world that we enjoy ourselves in. They support amateur and professional motorsports at every single level. So, throw us a bone once in a while. Buy some CRC stuff. Also, check out our friends at autobooks-aerobooks.com. Just announced this book recently. In the last couple of weeks, there's going to be a signing of this book at the store in the next couple of weeks if you're out in the Burbank area. Professor Speed, Danny McKeever. Danny McKeever is the guy who has, for the last 2 decades, trained every single celebrity that has done the Toyota Pro Celebrity Race in Long Beach. This book is full of not only driving tips and competition secrets and sort of competition mindset secrets, but lots of great celebrity dirt. So check it out at autobooks-aerobooks.com, and also check out Autobooks for a fantastic calendar and list of everything going on in Southern California automotive-wise. If you're ever out there, anywhere from San Diego to Santa Barbara, it would behoove you to check them out and do some cool car stuff. All right, let's get back to Jason and let's talk about 2017 Challenge. So a couple months ago, we invited you to come out and be a judge at the Grassroots Motorsports $2017 Challenge. You're no stranger to cheap car racing. You've done some Lemon stuff, done some Chump Car stuff. I think you've even judged at Lemon's events. Before having attended the event, what was your impression of what the 2017 Challenge was about?
Well, I figured it'd be dirty, so I brought along a bunch of CRC brake clean with me. I'm kidding. Sorry, I had to do that. You know what? I kind of thought.
Oh,
I thought
you got the green can. Yeah, you're in California. You got the fancy
it's
green cans.
I think I have a red one up there, but
Okay.
I can't reach it. And by the way, this works amazingly well to kill wasps and hornets,
Actually,
especially if
like
you use a lighter with it.
here's the secret. Like 2/3 of the CRC lineup will kill a wasp or a hornet, but this stuff does it with honor. And actually, this stuff won't take the paint off the side of your garage.
That's true. Yeah, I went to the challenge thinking it was going to be a combination between lemons, like a Concord of lemons and a 24 hours of lemons, and it kind of was. The one big difference is, while there's a lot of botchery that goes around on lemons, which I love, that was replaced with some of the most ridiculous engineering I've ever seen, and I mean that as the highest compliment. Some of the competitors did the most amazing stuff.
So one thing that's kind of a fixture of the event for the last few years is this thing it's called the parking lot build, which is because they build the thing in the parking lot the night before, and here's a look at what that was this year. So this event kind of starts when you show up on Thursday, the day before the event. So you get there to Gainesville, you're walking around the parking lot, you're seeing this stuff. What's your initial impression on was it more intense than you thought it was going to be? Was it more creative than you thought it was going to be? How did the first initial reality shape up to your expectations?
Unfortunately, I have to say I got there a little bit late, so it was quieter than I expected. There was just as much drunken stupidity as I expected. Somebody was building a bar, and I still don't quite understand exactly what that was for, but it was cool. And the truck that they were working on looked surprisingly done. I expected to get there and like it was going to be hacked in half, and they were going to be like putting it back together with JB Weld. But it all worked. I mean, it was sort of half done, sitting there like, yeah, it's ready to go. That was surprising.
All right, so let's go right into talking about the winner. So we're looking at Georgia Tech's Subaru-powered Insight here. Georgia Tech is a team that has been participating in the challenge for several years and have always been, contenders and finally pushed themselves over the edge and won the whole thing this year. I don't even know how to phrase a question based on this car because it's just such an extreme creation. What's your impression of this Subaru monstrosity in a Honda Insight here?
I fell in love with that thing the second I saw it, and I thought, all right, if you want to capture the spirit of ingenuity, you take an Insight and throw a Subaru motor in the back of it. I mean, it was just stupid from start to finish. It was not stupid, meaning not something you would ever think to do. And then I watched the guys wrestle with the car, and I heard stories and read stories about them in previous years breaking everything and always finding the weakest link in the moment. These guys still struggled with this car every step along the way, struggled to get down the drag strip, but ultimately just kept knocking second after second after second off of their time. And in the autocross, watching, the first run was kind of iffy, and the second run was a little bit better, and then there was a pro driver in there, and that turned into magic. That thing was like watching a real race car around that track. It's just crazy.
So the fact that Georgia Tech won was impressive, but kind of lost in that was that there were like 4 or 5 academic teams in the top 12, including a high school team that was right up there. But I'm going to throw up a picture of Smith College here. Smith, an all-female college from the Northeast, brought a Miata that actually did really, really well. Is this? Let's talk about the future a little bit. I mean, getting a more diverse crowd into these worlds of motorsports and STEM fields. It's kind of cool to be involved in an event that actually is trying to help this out a little bit, I think.
I hear so many automotive executives in my line of work saying, well, the next generation of kids is not interested in cars, and we're having a really hard time we're having a really hard time getting people interested. And I've always called BS on that. And this event was a perfect example of that. There were a bunch of kids, guys and girls, who were as engaged and as nuts about cars as we were when back in the 1800s when we were kids. And they were better mechanics and better drivers and better everything. I mean, it's a really good sign that if the car companies make the cars that people are interested in, people will be interested in them. It's not a lack of interest on the kids' part. And more than anything else, I'm just really jealous that that my high school never had anything like this.
Yeah.
My college never had anything like this. And the fact that all the kids did really well, and the girl team was particularly interesting because that was like a last second, okay, let's build this. And it was like she had no experience. She just went and did it. An absolute triumph to get a car built for this event in time and then to do well. That was amazing.
And it was, she had help, but she was the main driving force, main fabricator. It was really a one-woman show practically.
Yeah, that's what I had heard, and I regret that I never got a chance to really talk to her much. But everything that I heard was that the project started out sort of she spearheaded it. A bunch of people dropped out, and she was ultimately left to basically build that car by herself, just with the help of other people. And that's what we all do in the real life. I don't build motors on my own. My friends come and laugh at me when I bleed, and that's that's the way it should be. We should be mentoring everyone who's younger than us and looking for help from those that are older than us. And wow, what a great show for all of the high school and college groups.
All right, so let's deal with the big question we always get after every challenge. So this year we actually had a car go into the 9s on the quarter mile. First time ever cars run 9s, and even when cars were running 10s and 11s and putting in these awesome performances on the autocross course. The main thing we hear from people is this is bull crap. There's no way you can build these cars for $2017. It's just not possible. The event's bogus. It's all smoke and mirrors. So I'm going to throw up a picture of Andrew Nelson's creation here, his Z car, which was the first car to go 9s at the challenge. Talk a little bit about you were a judge. You actually got to look over these cars in detail and see how they were put together and hear the stories of the builders. So what would be your response to somebody that says, hey, there's no way in hell that car went 9s, it was put together for $2,000?
There's every way in hell, and if you talk to the guy who built it, you'll know immediately. I mean, the level of detail, I hesitate to call it complete and total insanity, but the level of detail of what that family went through to build both the cars, because they have 2 cars, is just unbelievable. And that Z, when you look at it, you realize there's no expensive componentry in the car. That was all incredible ingenuity, incredible engineering, and so much time. I mean, $2017, yeah, but I mean, 20.17 million hours of time went into that car. That was insane. That was nuts. Yeah, I'm looking at the pictures. It's just so cool to see that.
Yeah. So, and speaking of that, there was another Z there that this guy throwing a picture of Pat's car here. This thing went 11s on 7 cylinders, but if anybody wants to know how this stuff happened, well, the motor in this white Z was a 400,000 plus mile motor out of a taxi cab, from Cleveland somewhere. So the deals are out there. What was you got to hear all the stories of everybody, and actually, I don't get to hear as many stories as you guys do in a judge. Any particular story that impressed you as far as a part finding or fabrication effort there?
The perfect example is that Z. We were talking to the competitor, and he was like, well, I want a truck motor. I'm not. Somebody asked before on Facebook about everyone pulling LS motors and everything, and I kind of think it's funny. That's my default answer now. I'm like, how to fix my Volkswagen? I'm just going to throw an LS in it because they're reliable. But it's not just picking an LS motor. This guy didn't just throw a V8 in there. He found the truck V8 because it has whatever blah 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 water pump flange that was vertical, which fit with this, and everyone winds up building all of these these Franken motors from these parts, and it's not just that simple that they can just, build something that easily. They're optimizing stuff. I mean, I heard stories of people literally porting the inside of their fuel lines for maximum fuel delivery because they don't want to go to a bigger injector, or the bigger injectors are too expensive. So you port the inside of the injectors and then match them for flow rate. I mean, the detail is just nuts. And those are the stories that you just can't believe. And then you realize, you walk away like, no, you can't actually do this for $2017. Like, there's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah, and then, for example, I'm going to throw a picture of Calvin Nelson's car here. I didn't get a chance to hear the whole presentation, but he built a little display rig to sort of show you how he put his fuel system together, right?
Yeah, and that was Calvin's car is the one I'm talking about with the injectors. Apparently there are high flow injectors for this motor. I don't know anything about the V8s, but they were too expensive, so they took the off-the-shelf ones and literally ported them out, and then ported a bunch of them, and then matched the 8 closest injectors on this flow bench that he made, which makes my flow bench. I spray injectors into a bottle and hope the house doesn't burn down. Like, he made this gorgeous rig with like all these canisters with graduated cylinders in them. Like, it was just gorgeous. And then the really crazy part was they didn't match the injectors just to each other so they all delivered the same amount of fuel. They matched each injector to the flow rate in that exhaust and intake header. So the injectors that delivered the most fuel went into the cylinders that got the most air. I mean, that is the level of detail. And you're looking at these people going like, wow, and I can't get a friggin' Volkswagen engine to stop using oil. Like, my God. Like, it was incredible.
Yeah, and that doesn't cost anything. It's free to test your injectors if you build your own test bench.
There's Calvin just comment. Decapped flex fuel injectors. Yeah, that was the other thing. He had a full flex fuel system in the car. He wrote the software to make it work. I mean, believe me, if there are any doubters, go to the event. Preferably just bring your own car and participate, because it'd be more fun that way. But go to the event and start talking to people. You cannot believe the amount of detail and work that people have put in their cars to maximize it. A percent here, a percent there, a percent there. The next thing you know, you have a 9-second Z. I mean, just go talk to the Nelsons for a second. These guys are amazing.
And then we got some wacky stuff too. I'm going to throw up a picture of the mystery machine here. We've got folks that not only are building these cars and putting an immense amount of work into them, but are actually coming up with a fairly good sort of narrative and a fairly good presentation. We had basically a 5/8 scale mystery machine, Subaru microvan stuck on top of a dwarf car chassis, which had some teething problems, but you got to respect the effort going into that just to put a show on.
Raggy. I mean, it just you want to talk about a smile machine. Every time that thing moved, everyone started laughing and smiling. That was great, and they did have a lot of problems with it. It was really, the poor guys, I don't know if it didn't have a starter or it didn't have a clutch, so they had to start it in gear with a bunch of guys pushing it every single time, including at the drag strip.
Yeah, we got a picture of that up now. We got some serious butt crack in that picture too, I just realized. But here,
it happened. But they literally just had to push a car past the box, like the burnout box at a drag strip. That was really cool. That thing was probably the most dangerous car I've ever seen in my life. The engine was in the mystery machine with the driver, with no firewall, with everything right there. And then it was on 2 wheels at least once, and big on 2 wheels during the autocross. It looked like it was going to flip the entire time. But what more to make people laugh? Yeah, I
mean, that was, I think, the only car that got all 4 wheels off the ground at some point during an autocross run. It's sketchy, but they're bringing it back next year. They already have plans in place to bring the thing back next year and to continue to improve. And I think that's something else that people don't realize is it's not just you decide in February you're taking a car to an event in October. It's these cars have as much development as an ALMS racer in them, just with labor instead of money. Talk about where do you think I don't want to make a comparison between us and Lemons racers but sort of sum up what you saw as somebody not intimately familiar with the event and having been there every single year. Talk about the passion level of these people as compared to sort of other automotive communities you're familiar with.
At the expense of pissing off 3/4 of the people who watch my Motor Trend videos, it's very easy to go spend $100,000 on a car. You wind up, first of all, with a $100,000 car if you've done it well. So you've just taken money out of your retirement account, your 401k, and you've put it into a four-wheeled rolling bank account. It is a very, very different thing to build something of your own. And I have friends who have gone out and spent $75,000 on a car and been so proud of it and fallen totally in love with it. I find that love a little bit less valid than someone's love for a car where they've put no money or a ton of money, but hundreds of hours of their time. Lemons is about 24 Hours of Lemons racing is typically about what's the best way to get this stupid old car to survive for 24 hours on a racetrack and win. This event was very different. This was people outsmarting the rules and not cheating, outsmarting the rules. How do you make Andrew Nelson just said a couple minutes ago on Facebook, challenge car building is lost on those who build $2017 cars. We don't. We build cars with 2017 bucks.
Yeah.
Those cars are worth way more than that. And it's the genius there is people figuring out how to do it within the rules, how to not spend money, but to make a car faster and faster and faster and more reliable. And then, and there's that strategy. I don't usually see that in Lemons racing. It's usually let's just be silly and have a lot of fun, which of course I love. And people do very stupid things in Lemons. I mean, wasting their time for the sake of comedy or reliability or whatever else. But nothing like this challenge.
Yeah. So we had a question, how many Fox bodies were at the 2017 challenge? No Fox bodies this year. We had one SN95 that was the runner-up car. And actually, the SN95 that was the runner-up, Ed Mall's car, I think Ed is watching right now. Ed is a former winner in a Fox body Mustang, so it's definitely a chassis that has what it takes to compete. But I think as we've seen, almost anything can compete with the right amount of effort put to it. But look, Jason, you had a long flight home. You were going coast to coast. I'm sure it sort of crossed your mind, hey, if I was going to do this, here might be my approach, or here's what I may have sitting around that I could repurpose into something like this. Did you kind of put together a dream $2,000 challenge build?
Yeah, I only paid $1,800 for that Lotus right there. Yeah, no. I was actually funny. I was thinking about that. I did think, well, the Lotus probably would do better than most of my cars just because it's so much faster through the quarter mile. There's a strategy here, right? There's if you can gain 3 or 4 seconds down the quarter mile, it's going to be a lot easier to do than gaining 3 or 4 seconds in the autocross. But I have a 78 Rabbit that's a race car, and I bought that for around 2,000 something bucks, and that could almost compete. The big thing is that A, I'm on the wrong side of the country, and B, my God, I don't have the time to make this thing actually do well. It wouldn't be doing it'd be doing a 20-second quarter mile. So right off the bat, I'm kind of 11 seconds down on the fastest cars. But it would be really quick for the autocross until it broke. Definitely there's a strategy in there, and I definitely thought about, well, if I was local, I would do this. And there were certainly people that were in the Concours that we were judging who literally bought a car on Craigslist and drove it down. They just spent $2,000 on on whatever it was that they could find and drove it down, competed just for the fun of it. And I think that's fun too. Why not?
Yeah. Well, and so speaking of Concours judging, we got a picture here of you and your fellow judges up there, and this question is kind of fan service to our challenge participants who are watching, and maybe to some of the the challenge undecideds out there. But as you're going through and judging these cars, and the whole second day of the competition is basically sort of a technical analysis, a presentation, a judging of these cars, what is it that you were looking for in particular, or what sort of things stood out to you that may have helped somebody's score, or may have affected somebody's score, one way or the other?
So that's tough. So the biggest problem was that there were so many participants that we only had 3 minutes per car to really judge. And there are a lot of cars and a lot of competitors that could not have told us anything in 3 minutes. They wouldn't have even scratched the surface. So what we were looking for is really just a concise summary of what it is, how they did it, why they did it, and if there was comedy involved, of course they got extra points. If there was something stupid, like obviously the Mystery Machine team gave us Scooby snacks. Duh. I mean, total extra credit there. But really, I like the whole idea of having a theme. They were all dressed up as Scooby-Doo characters, and they just had a little bit of fun with it. But really, what I was looking for was some of the fascinating stuff, like the Nelson's ported fuel lines. That kind of stuff makes you say, "Wow, these people are really, really dedicated." And of course, where they came from. A lot of people drove thousands of miles to get there. And that's worth some extra points too.
And a lot of people are basically basing their competition season around that event. They might do an autocross here and there to test the car, but that is, it makes us feel cool that like that is the event that they base their entire season around, and that's what they're putting it together for. It isn't like, they built this car and they're gonna it fits in here. We're gonna also run it at the GRM challenge, but they're speccing the car, and I think that's why we've seen the level of these things improve. That's why we have 9-second cars. That's why we have nationally competitive autocross cars. We've had a couple of cars that have actually trophied at the Solo Nationals after running the challenge. So it's fun to see the level of competition increasing as well.
Yeah, and I think the way the whole thing is structured is pretty genius. You can have a 9-second car not win outright, for example. I mean, the autocross versus straight line is really a big leveling field.
Cool. All right, so we start wrapping stuff up here. Actually, if anybody has any questions for Jason, we are watching the Facebook chat, the YouTube chat. Throw them up in there. We'll try and get to them. But before we go here, let's talk about the future a little bit. You and I have both sort of been in this world for many years now. We've seen things change. We were around for the advent of ABS and fuel injection and traction control and all that stuff, and now we're seeing hybrids and electric cars. You're an electric VW Golf owner, and we're seeing the move to possibly autonomous cars here in the future. What do you think this all means for our jobs and for our position as enthusiasts? I mean, are we going to be able to keep up having the backgrounds that we have? Do we have to adapt to this future now?
We do. I think we especially, like, I'm in San Francisco, right? We live in our own little bubble of weird tech nerds, and everyone here thinks the cars are all going to go away tomorrow. They're not, but they are going to go away, at least in the way that we know them. I don't mind electric cars. As you said, I have an electric Golf. I don't have to warm it up, and I can do a burnout straight out of my driveway on a cold morning, which is the best part of having an electric car. But electric cars can be good. I think there will always be a place for enthusiasts who love to drive and who love the sound and feeling of an internal combustion engine. I don't see being on this planet without my old cars. And I think there are a lot of people that feel the same way. I don't think any of us are going to give up our cars. We just may be relegated to non-interstates or to not drive in city centers and stuff like that. I think it'll change, but I think it'll change slowly enough that we'll be okay with it. And the first time you do a full launch control on a Tesla P100D Ludicrous, you realize it ain't all that bad.
Yeah.
I mean, 2.28 seconds 0 to 60 will shut you up real fast. About the future being boring. So the future will be different, but I think as long as we're all responsible about how we manage our old cars, I think we'll be able to drive them for a long time.
Yeah. So we actually had a question from one of our competitors, sort of following up on the judging. Was there any part of the judging that was sort of particularly difficult for you, maybe straight off, or maybe after you got halfway through and thought, gee, do I need to recalibrate for something here, or you were getting more impressed? Was there any, what was the biggest challenge that you think you faced actually making those judgments?
There's a clear terrible part of it. So in the rules, anyone can abstain from being judged and get 12 points out of the possible 25 for judging. And all they had to do is write "Don't judge me" on their car, and we would award them 12 points and move on. And I kind of went into this thinking, all right, if that's the way it goes, it's unfair to everyone if all of the cars that we judge get 20, 22, 25 points. It can't be everyone's a winner. So the sort of average car needs to be around 12. And so I didn't feel too badly giving 20s. I felt great giving 23s and 24s. I felt terrible giving an 11, and I think I gave like a 9 or something. And I just wanted to say, like, I wanted to go over to the competitor and be like, dude, just go right, don't judge me on your car, and we'll pretend it was there the whole time. Like, I don't want to cost you points, but as a judge, I appreciate all the work that people did put into the cars, but at the end of the day, I'm a judge and I have to judge what they did, and that sucked. That was no fun.
And I think that event, as much as any event, that sort of, for a first timer coming to that event, that Dunning-Kruger effect takes over, and you may think before you show up to the 2017 challenge that you knew what you were doing, and then you show up and realize, like, oh my God, I am so out of my depth here. I am not even on the same planet as what some of these guys are building. But it's still a point of pride. I had a question about what are your thoughts on getting an older Civic and fixing it up, but not just an older Civic, as we're starting to see more and more the new breed of modern cars take over. What else are you looking or recommending people put in their garages before you just can't find them anymore?
I really think it's easy for me to say this because I think everyone loves the cars that came about when we were 14, 15, 16 years old. But I really think the cars between 1983 and 2000 were really the sweet spot of cars. They had computers that helped them run and helped them run better. You weren't dealing with carb issues and cold starting and all this sort of, the car companies had figured out how to get a car that worked. But the computers hadn't started taking away from the driving experience. They were just adding. And I really think as cars continue to get more and more complex and the drivers removed more, those are the cars where the smart money will be in terms of an investment. But they're the real ones that will age well. We'll be able to use them. They won't have stupid old navigation systems that don't work anymore. They'll be reliable and still fun.
Yeah, and if you start looking at even some of those cars, like you look at the Japanese sports cars of the early 90s, you're already seeing some amazing value bumps. Good luck finding a Supra or right. That those things just aren't out there anymore. Second gen MR2s are starting to go up. That whole sort of 1990 to 94 when the first batch of 300 horsepower cars started hitting the market, I think that's kind of a sweet spot right there too.
Totally, and it was, frankly, a lot of them came before turbochargers, and turbos are really great, but they fundamentally change the experience, and it's cheating. And I build an engine to get 10 more horsepower. Everyone else can just put a chip in their car.
Yeah.
But there's really something to be said for cars that aren't too fast. It's really nice to drive a car. If we wouldn't be bored, we wouldn't want autonomous auto cruise control and lane keep assist and all the rest of the stuff, if the pace that we were allowed to drive had kept pace with how fast our cars got. Right, 150 miles an hour in a modern car is boring, but we're not allowed to do it. 60 miles an hour is eye-watering, and you just want to kill yourself. 60 miles an hour in an 80s car, or 80 miles an hour in an 80s car. A car that was geared to do, red line in top gear at 120, it's moving, it's quick, it's engaging. And I think all of those cars, 80s, 90s, and really into the early 2000s, are kind of the best of all worlds. And I think their values will reflect that. I hope they do.
Great question from Facebook here. What, make a prediction for us. Last year of widespread availability of cars with 3 pedals in them.
That'll never stop.
Are you telling yourself that, or are you making that prediction?
I will make the prediction that as long as there's an internal combustion engine, there will be a manual option. I think there are a couple of car companies and a lot of people within those car companies that really understand that. I don't mind an automatic in my e-Golf. I don't want a manual in an electric car. It obviously makes no sense. But as the world turns into hybrids and electrics as our predominant way of transportation, there will be a niche market for people who want an experience with an internal combustion engine, and there is just no substitute for a manual in terms of getting to play with your car. So I think the last car with an internal combustion engine on sale in the world will have a manual, and then it'll be over after that.
I hope you're right. All right, we got to let you go. But before we do, what do you got coming up? You're kind of between stuff now. Anything you can talk about for the future? We're going to see more Jason Cammisa. We've already had a couple people extend invitations to come back and judge the challenge next year. So what's look, I've wasted an hour of your time. Plug something here.
There's nothing to plug other than the fact that I have 6 cars that need oil changes. So that my week this week has been oil filters and Blackstone Labs containers, because you always send your oil into Blackstone to be tested. No, right now I took the summer off. The only quote unquote work gig that I did was coming to the challenge, because that didn't seem like work at all, and I would love to come back. It was a lot of fun. But right now I'm still looking around to see exactly what comes next. I would love to keep making really cool car content, and I'll find a way to do that.
Oh, we would definitely like to see you make more of it, and whenever you want to let some of your actual fame rub off on our fake fame, please feel free.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for inviting me as a judge.
Yeah, man. Have a great night. We will stay in touch, and thanks for being on tonight, Jason.
Thank you.
We'll see you.
Thanks.
Folks, that was Jason Cammisa. Oh, there's my Skype friends list. Nothing too creepy on there. That was great show. Thank you very much to Jason for joining us. Appreciate having him aboard. It was great having him as a judge at the challenge. It was fantastic having that knowledge base, that experience base, and a guy with that much passion about the products that he covers as a journalist involved in our thing. It's a small world. We're a little bit removed from the Detroit or LA centric car magazines, being in Florida and sort of being a very niche publication. But we know all these guys, and it's great that most of them are just fantastic enthusiasts, and to actually be able to meet some of these guys who you know as colleagues from their work or just from being fans of theirs. It's really satisfying to see that, okay, here's a guy that not only is fantastic as what he does, but enjoys the world he lives in. Speaking of enjoying the world you live in, folks, that is exactly what we do here every Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern on GRM Live, presented by CRC Industries. Next week is Thanksgiving. We are going to do a show on Wednesday night. Not sure what it's going to be. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be traveling, spending time with family. Might just be us hanging out. We might just go open phones for an hour. Who knows? And you can call in and go baba booey, and do whatever. But we'll be here next week, 9 p.m. Might just be hanging out and screwing around in the shop. We're going to do something. So hopefully you will spend your Thanksgiving Eve with us, just kind of having a good time. After that, back to sort of regular produced content. Before we go, let me tell you about the folks that support this show. You see them right down here. CRC Industries, Autobooks, Aerobooks.com. Every week I tell you about CRC Brake Clean. We didn't plan that thing with Jason, with having the Brake Clean sitting right there. He just had it there. He had it there because it's a great product. It's what you got to have if you're going to work on cars, and it's what you got to reach for if you're reaching for automotive chemicals, because you're not only getting a great product, you're getting a product from a company that supports shows like this and events like the 2017 Challenge. So you're giving back to the community that you exist and enjoy yourself in. I can take these off now. So check them out at crcindustries.com, and check out Autobooks-Aerobooks, and we'll throw up the Danny McKeever book here again. I am ordering this one really soon here, and I'm excited about it. Autobooks-Aerobooks.com. Fantastic bookstore in Burbank, California, with a great internet presence, tens of thousands of books, art books, tech manuals, history pieces, motorcycles, boats, airplanes, everything with wings, wheels, or an engine is there at autobooks-aerobooks.com. Also a fantastic calendar of automotive events in Southern California. You can check them out. You can actually go and attend a book signing by Danny McKeever of this book we are plugging this week. Ian wants a donkey visit. Ian, man, I got some bad news for you, and some bad news for all of our viewers who are big fans of Opie the donkey, who hangs out next to our shop. He's a neighbor. Actually, it's not bad news, but it's bad news for us. It's good news for Opie. Opie moved out. Opie moved to a very large ranch several miles from here. So he's moving from a sort of ex-urban small pen to a 160-acre farm where he's going to be able to hang out with horses and other donkeys and have a good old time. So we're gonna miss the guy, man. He was fun. It was cool that people on the show enjoyed going over and giving Opie a biscuit every once in a while. But yeah, we're gonna miss Opie the donkey around here. So so that's what happened to him. He's fine. He's happy. He's just not our neighbor anymore. So we are very happy for him, but sad that he is gone. Woo! What a great show. That was really fun. I think there was an arrow on Jason's forehead a few times, and that was just I think that was his mouse pointer we were seeing there. So that is it. So John wants to know when I get my own donkey. Dude, I got 3 ducks and 5 parrots, and that is plenty enough for me. We do not need any more anything with hooves or fur or anything around here. We have enough space that I could do some serious damage in loading this place up with goats and donkeys and you know, ostriches and emus, and I am like seriously like one Ambien fueled Amazon ordering binge away from filling my yard with dumb animals, but I have resisted for this long. All right, I'm gonna let you guys go. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you next week, 9 p.m. Eastern, for the big Thanksgiving show. You know, if you're not busy, if you're done cooking, come hang out with us. It'll be fun. I don't know what it's going to be, but I promise it'll be fun, and I promise it'll be a great way to kill an hour just talking about cars, maybe getting our hands dirty, and maybe we'll just sweep the shop up and hang out for a week. Thank you to everybody who watched tonight, all of our folks who were challenge participants or future challenge participants. Thank you for watching, and thanks especially to everybody who gave us a like or gave us a share. If you're watching on YouTube and you go down and click that little subscribe button, we'll let you know whenever we have content up, and we don't, you know, we're not bothering you for a lot of stuff. Oh, last thing before I go. Black Friday. Everybody knows about the Grassroots Motorsports Black Friday special. It is the best and cheapest time of the year to buy a new subscription or renew your subscription. If you want to go to grassrootsmotorsports.com, go all the way down to the bottom, subscribe to our newsletter. All we want is your email address. We do not sell it to anybody. You will never get an email from that list from anybody but Grassroots Motorsports Magazine. And the emails we send you are cool. There's, you know, free content in there from the magazine, stuff that didn't appear in the magazine, we didn't have room for, goes in the newsletter. And there's great deals, like you'll be the first in line for our Black Friday deals, where you will be able to buy the cheapest subscriptions of the year, and cool merchandise like this hoodie I'm wearing. Not this exact hoodie, because I'm wearing it and I like it, but a hoodie just like this. We're going to have a great sale on all our Grassroots Motorsports swag starting next Friday. If you're on our email subscriber list, you will be the first in line for that, and actually have deals only available to our newsletter subscribers from there. All right, we'll see you guys next week. I'm going to scroll here and see if we missed anything. Jeremy wants to know if we're going to have any Corvette content. You know what? We got a Corvette sitting out in the garage, so we might do some Corvette content, just because it's going to be sitting there. But there's definitely going to be a lot of Corvette content coming up, because that's going to be one of our frontline project cars. You know, for the next 2 years. Carl wants to know if our refrigerator is running. It is. It's right next to me, Carl. I do not need to go catch it. And that is pretty much it. Yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Once again, this is Grassroots Motorsports Live, presented by CRC Industries. I'm JG Pasterjack. You are the best audience anywhere on the internet. I swear everybody was so nice tonight and so participatory. I will see you again next week. Have a great night. Thanks for watching.